when they're done with their last trial, we usually obviously remind them that they're coming in on Wednesday or whatever day of the week that's next for them. Confirm their time. Obviously, we have Google Calendar up if they do have internet at the senior center, just to make sure that if they need to switch their time, that's okay. Just try to make it at least around the time that they're going to be, that they normally would come in. And then obviously, we give them, for the first day, we usually give them the paperwork because we've noticed that we hadn't had enough time to do the week before paperwork, so we give them the health history and the scale to make sure they bring that back, and if they have any questions that they can, we can go over it on Wednesday. If they have their paperwork done, which is kind of the ideal situation that their paperwork is done a week prior to them coming in, we kind of just obviously confirm the time and then kind of send them on their way. Obviously, thanking them again. I think that's one of the most important things to do is to thank the subject for coming in as many times as you need to. If you need to say it 50 times, that's great. It's just make sure that they're willing to come back. They want to keep coming back to do the next 2 days. Obviously, on the third day, we remind them of the balance workshop, as well as that we'll be sending a results sheet that will be mailed to them either by email or by just regular mail the following week. We usually try to get that in the following week. So actually, on the third day as well, we also get their mailing address as well. Again, letting them know that it's all going to be confidential and locked in our laboratory when we get back to the state. So, how did you feel that the whole process went? If you have any comments or anything else that?
No, I'm really pleased with the standardization that you've worked through, and keeping that relationship concept in mind, because I think these folks, it's a big sacrifice on their part. Because unlike typical working people, their lives are not necessarily as open as you might think. They have schedules as well, so it's.
Yeah, and we always say that obviously the next 2 days on Wednesday and Friday that it's going to be 50 minutes. That usually again gets them kind of coming back because they realize it's not going to be an hour. Usually, if you keep everything pretty much going on task and making sure that you don't go over that minute during the rest, you can actually get it done technically within 45 minutes. Obviously, 50 minutes is probably the best way. It's probably the most comfortable way of doing it. So we usually let them know that it's going to be 50 minutes the next 2 days, and to make sure again, thanking them for coming back because I know they realize they have busy schedules and that they kind of keep on schedule.
And the cleaner the operation, the better they feel about their contribution. I think the word of mouth will, at some point, pay off because now you've created a network, and that network has networks, and the snowball effect of recruitment can potentially happen.
Exactly. Most of them actually go into exercise the next morning if they're doing that, and actually kind of, people ask them about the study, which is fantastic. It's kind of, again, like you had said, getting that word of mouth, just kind of, we obviously let them know. Obviously, one of those things I forgot to actually mention was that after each day, we tell them to not practice when they go home. If they do exercise during, if they do balance exercises during their normal, normal routine during one of the classes, that's perfectly fine because they would do that normally going to class. But we just don't want any kind of extra additional kind of work on it. Most of them want to do more work, and I always state that after Friday, you're more than welcome to do any of the exercises that we've done. Obviously, make sure that you're doing it in a safe environment, but you're more than welcome to do it after we're done on Friday. And then obviously reminding them, again, the balance workshop will be available within the upcoming weeks.
So is there a point when you talk to them about what a reliability study is?
We do, yes. Most of them, obviously, I think a lot of people go over the informed consent. They want to know kind of like what we're actually doing. And most of them would say, and we're trying to make sure that, that this map's going to work in the older population, it's going to fit the older population, and that, if you could just, most people would do the same thing each time. Even if they wouldn't want to say they're going to go home and practice, we've noticed that they still come in and do the exact same thing every single day. Some of the people we've noticed that, due to, conflicts in their schedule, we've had to do 2 mornings and then maybe like at noon, so like maybe like at 9 o'clock and then at noon. And we've noticed, obviously we mark that down in all of our documentation that their time has changed, just to make sure that maybe some sort of, waking up in the morning, they feel more balanced, or, they went through their whole schedule. By the time they got to us, they were tired, so that kind of takes into an effect. Obviously, we asked them on day 2 and day 3 if they've noticed anything has changed, or that, have they noticed anything, if they've fallen or anything like that, to make sure that they're still fitting that criteria every day that they come in. Some of them have stated, obviously, that they did a workout. We put that in just to make sure that the fatigue level maybe was contributed to how they balanced that day. So, basically, the big thing to do is document anything that you're unsure of, because at least you've documented it, and you can at least go back to it afterwards and look at it, because there's so much information that's coming out with the statistics when we kind of get rolling with that there's so many things you can look at: activity level and order of trial, order of conditions, and fatigue levels and all that stuff. That
well, even if they did go out for a walk in the early morning before they came in for a test, even not fatigue, there might be somehow stimulation of motor control or things that we.
So it's almost like a warm up prior to coming to here. So obviously we don't give the adults any kind of warm up with any of the exercise. They're just kind of coming in almost blind with it. But
again, it's this test is testing the mat, not testing the person.
Exactly.
So
Yes, we're testing.
Later on, when we start testing the person, we'll
exactly.
have other
we
things
can
to consider.
Exactly.
It's really a situational basis, because obviously you're going to have people that are very good at balancing and people that aren't as good at balancing. So I really go case by case, but it becomes quite apparent which people are sturdy on their feet and which people aren't. So it's really based off that. Like as Dr. McKenna said earlier, you said, I don't want you to touch
Don't touch me.
Yeah, so I don't. So you gotta obviously respect that. But throughout the testing, most of the people that we have tested do like having just my hands pretty much on their shoulders, but you don't apply any pressure whatsoever. But just so they know you're there.
I could feel the heat of your hands.
Yeah, so.
But I didn't like his hands on me, but I could feel the heat of his hands. So I knew if I went too far, he'd prevent.
Yeah, and that's really the essence of it is. You obviously want to let them sway and do the natural motion, but you don't want to let them get so far out of their center of balance that they're going to fall, or they're going to even make that real jolt, which becomes problematic because you don't want anybody to get hurt. And once they start doing sporadic movements, that's when somebody can get hurt. So you obviously let them sway, but you don't want them to get in a point where they're uncomfortable, that they're going to be making sporadic jerking motions where somebody can get hurt.